As our loyal viewers know, President Biden and his White House team had been resisting calls to place a ban on Russian imports of oil, gas, and energy products for weeks. We were hearing from the White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, that such imports only account for 10% of U.S. purchases of energy products from overseas. But the president, in making this announcement in the Roosevelt Room this morning, essentially capitulated to political pressure he was facing from virtually all points along the ideological spectrum, from the human rights activists on the left side of the spectrum, from the conservative foreign policy hawks on the right, and increasingly from within his own congressional party leadership. We saw the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat of California, announce over the weekend that the House was going to pursue what she called very strong legislation to impose just such a ban on Russian oil and gas and energy products. The president made clear that he understands that our European allies are not necessarily, with their much heavier reliance on Russian energy products, able to join us in placing such a ban. But the president also made clear there's one step he's not going to take, and that involves things like reviving the Keystone Pipeline project or expanding the number of drilling permits on federal lands for boosted production here at home. Let's listen.
It's simply not true that my administration or policies are holding back domestic energy production. That's simply not true. Even amid the pandemic, companies in the United States pumped more oil during my first year in office than they did during my predecessor's first year. We're approaching a record levels of oil and gas production in the United States, and we're on track to set a record of oil production next year.
Now, by way of context, I believe that we have a graph chart to show you. This is prepared by the official scorekeepers of all things relating to U.S. energy, the U.S. Energy Information Administration, a federal agency right here in Washington. And if you look at this chart closely, it will show you that the peak of U.S. dependency on Russian crude oil and petroleum products was reached under the Biden presidency last May of 2021, when the U.S. imported 847,000 barrels of Russian crude oil and petroleum products per day. For context, over the last 2 decades, the only time we even came close to that was when Mr. Biden was vice president under the Obama administration back in May 2009, when we imported 809,000 barrels of Russian crude and petroleum products per day. And to give you just some last additional context, for the 4 years of the Trump administration, the United States averaged much lower in terms of its purchase of purchase of Russian crude oil and petroleum products. It went up by 40% in 2021 under Mr. Biden to an average of 657,000 barrels per day. In fairness to the Biden administration, one last data point, because I know you love this sort of thing, Bob and Heather. Over the last several months, perhaps seeing that this storm was gathering in the distance, the Biden administration took steps to slowly reduce our purchase of Russian crude oil and petroleum products almost by 50% from July of 2021 to last December. Back to you.
I actually do love stuff like that, James, but I'm kind of odd.
I know.
I was taking notes, all of the numbers that you just gave. So,
thank you, James.
well, joining us now to discuss this further is Texas Congressman Brian Babin. Congressman Babin, thank you very much for joining us. No doubt you were listening to some of the numbers that our reporter went through there and what President Biden had said earlier today, specifically that he and his administration were not holding back domestic energy production. You're there in the great state of Texas, the president there today, but not meeting with any of the oil or gas industry leaders there in Texas. What is your response to what the president had to say in terms of producing oil and energy here, specifically in Texas or in America?
Thank you. Great to be with you, Heather and Bob. Listening to the president say what he just did, that he was not holding this back, I thought I was back in the State of the Union message that we had the other night, with all the fiction and just living in a completely unreal world. It was surreal, and just saying things that just because he says it doesn't make it so. He is most definitely, certainly holding back domestic production. He's got. I'm glad that he has decided that under due pressure, obviously, to discontinue buying Russian oil. But he has to unleash American energy, and he has to do it immediately. He's got to stop importing Russian oil. We've got to reverse course on his anti-energy agenda, because this is an agenda. This didn't happen by accident. They want, these Democrats, they're controlled by the radical wing. They want everyone on electric vehicles. They want everybody off of fossil fuels. That's their whole point. But in order with this to stop Russia, discontinue financing their invasion of Ukraine, he's got to end his federal freeze on all oil and new gas projects. He's got to fast track LNG export permits. We heard there were 6 of them pending right now. He's got to expedite approval of all pipeline and energy development. And when he says he's not going to, reauthorize the Keystone Pipeline, it just tells you that he's not really serious about this. He's got to stop his regulatory assault on U.S. energy development and financing, and he's got to start talking to energy producers. And he's got to unshackle states like Texas, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Louisiana, New Mexico. There's North Dakota. Under President Trump, we were energy independent, a net exporter, and he has killed that. He has squandered that in less than a year.
Let me ask you about this. One of the problems with banning Russia imports is that, keep in mind, it's thousands of companies that are part of the whole process as far as drilling and refining and getting them out to your gas station. And the concern is that this Russian oil is going to end up somewhere else because we're still going to have to replace it, and it'll end up costing us more. So this leads me to this question. When you talk to the oil producers there in Texas, how much more percentage-wise do they feel they can increase their output over what period of time?
Well, let me just say this. We did away with, a million barrels. In fact, I think it's close to 2 million barrels of production in the last year with the policies of the Biden administration. Can you turn this spigot immediately back on? No, you can't. But we have to reverse course. And if we're going to stop buying Russian oil, my goodness, let me tell you something. When Texans are paying $4 a gallon for gas, there's something wrong. Everybody knows that something's wrong. But if you're going to get off of Russian gas, don't go running to the Iranians, the largest exporter of terrorism in the world. Don't go after the Venezuelans, Maduro, and why does he put despotic dictators ahead of American producers? I represent more petrochemical refining facilities than any other congressman in the United States of America. And I can tell you, it can't be turned on immediately, but there are things that need to be done to get the ball rolling so that we can replace this Russian oil that we've been hooked on under the Biden administration.
Okay, Congressman Brian Babin, thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
I wanted to point out there has been talk about supplying, Poland supplying essentially some MiG-29s.
Some fighter jets.
To you, yes, which could help enforce some sort of air defense against the Russian Air Force. And it looks like there's an agreement.
Yes, but at the same time requesting that the U.S. provide them with used aircraft. And there was a phrase that they were using yesterday.
Backfill. In other words, supply F-16s to resupply what they may be supplying.
So it looks like that may be happening.
It's very hopeful for Ukraine.
Yeah.